A very good morning to you and welcome to the live stream of the special sitting of the profession to mark the retirement of the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Judge of Appeal. Thank you for joining us on YouTube at Jamaican Judiciary, on Facebook at the Judiciary of Jamaica, and on Twitter at Jam Judiciary. Remember to subscribe, like, and share the link to keep up to date on happenings in the judiciary. Today, while there will be one sitting of the court, persons will be seated in all three divisions to facilitate social distancing. 15 judges will participate in today's sitting, inclusive of the Chief Justice. We now await the arrival of the judges. The judges will be arriving from Division 3, then Division 2, and then Division 1. Today we will bid farewell to one of the stalwarts of our judiciary, Miss Justice Hilary Ann Phillips. And later on you will learn much more about her contribution to the judiciary and to the profession overall. At the moment, you are looking at Division 3 at the Court of Appeal. We are awaiting the arrival of the judges who will be sitting in this division. As I said earlier, all three divisions will be used for this morning's sitting to facilitate social distancing. Now we'll have, yes, the judges are arriving now. The Honorable Mr. Justice Brown, the Honorable Mrs. Justice Crescentia Brown Beckford, Acting Judge of Appeal. Following closely behind her, we have the Honorable Mrs. Justice Harris and the Honorable Miss Justice Nicole Simmons. These are the judges who will be seated in Division 3, and of course the Honorable Mrs. Justice Dunbar Green. We'll be going over to Division 2, where the judges will be arriving momentarily. Here we go, the Honorable Miss Justice Nicole Foster Pusey. She's followed by the Honorable Mr. Justice David Fraser, was followed by the Honorable Miss Justice Jennifer Straw, the Honorable Miss Justice Paulette Williams, and the Honorable Miss Justice Edwards. Persons will remain standing in Divisions 3 and 2, and we're now going over to Division 1, where those judges will take their seats. Yes, we have the police officers who are escorting the judges to their seats. The Honorable Miss Justice Marie Sinclair Haynes. She's followed by the Honorable Miss Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, and the lady of the moment, the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, the President of the Court of Appeal, and of course, the Honorable Mr. Justice Brian Sykes. Please be seated.
My Lord Chief Justice, Honorable Justice Brian Sykes, judges of the Court of Appeal, Both present in the courtroom and in the other courtrooms on the building, retired judges of the Court of Appeal, judges of the Supreme Court of Judicature of Jamaica, both serving and retired, joining us on the electronic platform. The Honorable Mrs. Justice Maynard, Queen's Counsel, Attorney General for Jamaica. Ms. Paula Llewellyn, Director of Public Prosecutions. Mr. Alan Wood, Queen's Counsel, Chairman of the General Legal Council, and I should have said that Mrs. Malachi Ford, Queen's Counsel, and Ms. Paula Llewellyn, Queen's Counsel. Mr. Emil Leiber, President of the Jamaican Bar Association. Mr. Leonard Green, President of the Advocates Association of Jamaica. Mr. Lambert Johnson, the President of the Cornwall Bar Association of Jamaica, who should be on the electronic platform. We may be joined by a representative of the Southern Bar Association, but that is yet to be confirmed. Ms. Pearline Bailey, President of the Northern Bar Association. Distinguished members of the bar present in person and on the various virtual platforms that we've had the privilege of being able to use this morning. Family members of and friends of the Honorable Justice Hilary Phillips, whom we honor and celebrate today. Members of the staff of the Court of Appeal, representatives of the Jamaica Information Service and of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen all. Having established the protocol, I trust that the individuals who will be called upon to speak this morning will feel comfortable in the interest of time in adopting it. As you are all aware, we gathered this morning to celebrate a truly exemplary lawyer, jurist, woman, and human being. Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Judge of Appeal, our beloved colleague, whom we celebrate today, has graced Jamaica's legal system for over 47 years. She has spent her entire working life in the law. As an advocate, there are 3 words that may be used to describe Hilary: tenacious, thorough, and fair. Her various endeavors have graced almost every aspect of the profession, from advocate to tutor in the law. She was in every sense a leader at the bar. Justice Phillips brought these qualities to her service to the judiciary of this country, and this court and the Jamaican jurisprudence is all the better for it. Justice Phillips's tenacity is packaged with a unique brand of charm, concern for everyone around her, and an empathy that allowed everyone to feel comfortable confiding in her. She is truly a remarkable human being. The judges of the court have compiled a tribute to Justice Phillips. It will be read for the purposes of the ceremony by someone with a far better voice than mine, Mrs. Kadish Jared Fletcher of the Court Administration Division of the Supreme Court. And I now ask Mrs. Fletcher to proceed with her presentation.
Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Judge of Appeal, our beloved colleague whom we celebrate today, has graced Jamaica's legal system for 47 scintillating years. A lifetime in the law during which she has forged a reputation of well-rounded excellence, honest loyalty, gifted mentorship, unquestioned integrity, innovative curiosity, and a Herculean work ethic, all seasoned by her disarming calm and welcoming charm. Law has been in Justice Phillips' blood, literally from the start. The daughter of Jamaica's second post-independence Chief Justice, Sir Roland Phillips, and Lady Enid Daphne Phillips, née Limonius, from at least her teenage years, she sensed that her life's greatest contribution should be fighting for the rights of others. She came to this realization having had the benefit of both an idyllic Caribbean upbringing and an early acquaintance with challenges in life. Justice Phillips was born in Kingston, Jamaica on February 26, 1951. For her first 2 years, she lived happily with her family in St. Thomas. Her father was resident magistrate for the parish, and they lived at his official residence in the capital, Morant Bay. In 1953, the family relocated to Guyana, where her father, now a recently appointed puisne judge, was seconded. Life in Guyana was glorious, spent joyfully at home, school, church, and in seemingly endless adventure. However, while there, serious illness also struck. She contracted poliomyelitis, which rendered her feet immobile for some time. Showing immense resilience even at that early age, she learned to walk again, then as she does now, oh so gracefully. A few years later, she required hospital treatment after being badly stung by a man-o'-war sea creature which came in with the quickly rising North Atlantic tide. The family returned to the island of Jamaica in 1959, where her father would soon be appointed senior puisne judge and later Chief Justice in 1963. They now resided at his official residence in the parish of St. Andrew. Justice Phillips entered her beloved alma mater, the St. Andrew High School for Girls, in 1961. With what we now know to be her characteristic energy and natural spirit of collegiality, she immersed herself in the full fabric of school life, both in academic and co-curricular pursuits. No activity was too ordinary or esoteric to escape her efforts on behalf of her house, Cavell. She played hockey, netball, and the piano, sang, baked, anything Cavell needed her to do. It was therefore fitting when she, one of St. Andrew High School's finest, eventually became house captain. Apart from her ubiquitous involvement in school life, her passion for defending the rights of others was sparked and honed throughout her high school years by her ongoing advocacy on behalf of fellow students on a broad scope of issues. Moving on to tertiary education, Justice Phillips completed a Bachelor of Science degree in Management Studies at the University of the West Indies between 1968 and 1971, the latter year being the year after the newly minted Faculty of Law was opened at the university. A poignant incident that occurred while she was a resident of Mary Seacole Hall underscored her lifelong commitment to standing up for and helping others, often without regard for her own safety or needs. In response to the screams of a fellow student being sexually assaulted, she ran downstairs from her room on an upper floor, even while others on hall were locking their doors. The attacker fled, and she joined the victim in chasing and holding on to him. Though he was able to extricate himself from their grasp, they were able to identify him, and, after he was caught, Justice Phillips testified at the preliminary inquiry. He eventually pleaded guilty in the circuit court and was incarcerated. With law in her blood and activism in her spirit, it is little wonder that immediately after obtaining her university degree, Justice Phillips went straight into being articled to Mr. Arthur Schofield of the firm Lake Nunez Schofield and Company between 1971 and 1974. Simultaneously, through the College of Law in the United Kingdom, she also enrolled externally in and successfully completed Parts 1 and 2 of the Solicitor's Qualifying Examinations administered by the Law Society UK. Upon her qualification as a solicitor, she accepted the invitation to join the firm. She spent 5 years there obtaining her grounding in the law and gaining extensive litigation experience in a wide range of both civil and criminal matters. From Lake Nunez Schofield, she moved on in 1979 to the firm at which she would spend the next 30 years of her career and which now still bears her name. In 1979, it was Perkins, Tomlinson, Grant, Stewart and Company. Later, Perkins, Grant, Stewart, Phillips and Company, and now Messrs. Grant, Stewart, Phillips and Company. Over the years, she rose to become senior partner and head of the litigation department. Under her expert guidance, the firm's litigation department became synonymous with excellence and professionalism in handling complex civil matters across several practice areas with a somewhat lesser reach in the criminal law. Her scholarship, outstanding advocacy, courtesy to the bench, and leadership at the bar led to her appointment as Queen's Counsel on April 19, 1998. This was a particularly significant appointment as she was the first woman trained as a solicitor who went on to become Queen's Counsel. She mentored numerous counsel, 2 of whom have themselves gone on to become Queen's Counsel. On a less serious note, her years of practice also yielded several hilarious anecdotes which punctuate and enliven many a discussion. Her life has been as multifaceted as it has been marked by excellence. Prior to her ascension to the appellate bench in 2009, she gave sterling service in a number of areas of public life. Her professional affiliations include the Jamaican Bar Association, which she joined in 1975. She served the association in many leadership positions, including council member and vice president, and had the signal distinction of becoming the association's first female president in 2001 and serving in that capacity until 2004. Over the years, she also served on 8 different subcommittees of the association, several at the same time. Justice Phillips served the General Legal Counsel with distinction from 1984 to 2009, during which time she was a senior member of its disciplinary committee. From the year 2000 until the present, she has been a member of the Rules Committee of the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal. She, along with the other members, received special recognition for work on the production of the Civil Procedure Rules 2002 CPR, which revolutionized civil practice in the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. It is quite understandable, then, that she is one of the coterie of persons acknowledged as gurus of the CPR. The Legal Aid Council and the Copyright Tribunal both had the benefit of her membership and later chairmanship for many years, prior to her ascension to judicial office. She was also a director of the Dispute Resolution Foundation from 1996 to 2004, and of the Kingston Legal Aid Clinic from 1998 to 2009. Neither has her reach been only local, as she served as Vice President of the Organization of Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Associations, OCCBA, from 2003 to 2006, and as a member of the Council of Legal Education, which oversees legal education in the Commonwealth Caribbean from 2007 to 2009. Her devotion to scholarship, legal education and reform propelled her to assist in developing and editing the Jambar Journal in its new format, as well as publishing articles in Katzarov's Manual on Intellectual Property and in the West Indian Law Journal. Apart from her instinctive willingness to assist earnest counsel, whether from her firm or not, and the several masterful presentations she has made over many years in support of continuing legal education, her greatest contribution to mentorship has been through her over 27 years as an associate tutor at the Norman Manley Law School, initially in civil practice and procedure and subsequently in advocacy. Beloved by her students for her preparedness, commitment, and empowering style, on occasion she has been given a perfect score in student tutor assessment. As satisfyingly consuming as her pursuits in law have been, she has likewise made indelible contributions in other spheres of Jamaican life. These include being a director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, where in 2008 she also served as chairman of its Regulatory Market and Oversight Committee, and other directorships at Petrojam and the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica. Significantly, however, her crowning contribution to the private business sector began quite early in her career and vividly showcased multidimensional talents beyond her legal acumen. A blend of entrepreneurial savvy and inspired conscious creativity led her, along with Kingsley Cooper, on January 1, 1980, to co-found Pulse, a pioneer in the development of the region's fashion, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, as well as a leader in elevating Caribbean talent to the top of the world stage. Until her embrace of judicial office, Justice Phillips remained an active director and a key player in identifying, grooming, and mentoring several young persons, many of whom are now numbered among Pulse's icons and top stars. Justice Phillips' discipline, versatility, and natural joie de vivre led her to pursuits further afield than law and business. While her passionate personal pulse caused her to be known as a tasteful fashionista, her creativity extended beyond her sense of style to excellence in the arts. This was notably demonstrated when she was a dancer with the renowned National Dance Theatre Company, NDTC, from 1978 to 1980, an achievement made all the more significant by her crippling brush with polio as a young child. The NDTC benefited not just creatively, but also from her management skills. For several years, she was a director and to date serves as vice chair of the NDTC Board of Management. Justice Phillips embarked on the apex journey of her career when on July 20, 2009, she was sworn in as judge of the Court of Appeal, effective August 3, 2009, fulfilling her father's encouragement to give back through public service. As in her career at the bar, Justice Phillips' judicial career has been marked by excellence, visited upon preparation, discipline, and consistent work. In the celebrated Alexander murder, the extensive preparation and court craft demonstrated by Norman Washington Manley, King's Counsel, prompted Justice Clark to laud his performance by observing, "Genius is the capacity to take infinite pains." Justice Phillips has demonstrated such genius by ensuring that in each case she reads all the material presented, along with any further information revealed by research. This comprehensive approach is then distilled into a detailed judgment addressing all the relevant issues. Through her dedication and scholarship, Justice Phillips has helped to shape our Jamaican jurisprudence by authoring several landmark and groundbreaking judgments on important areas of law. Known for her courtesy, balance, fairness, assistance to counsel and litigants alike, comprehensive scholarly judgments, and prodigious output, Justice Phillips exemplifies the traits of an excellent jurist. It was therefore immensely fitting when the Honorable Chief Justice requested that Justice Phillips chair the Judicial Criteria Committee established to provide recommendations on the appointment of judges, which delivered its report in 2020. While mastering her core judicial functions over her 12 years of judicial service, Justice Phillips continued her rounded contribution to the wider cause of justice. It was therefore apposite when in 2013 she was awarded the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander for her services to the legal profession and the judiciary. Among her signal contributions outside of the courtroom, Justice Phillips provided experience and insight while serving on the Court Users Committee from its inception in 2007 to date. She has also been a member and served as second vice president of the Jamaica Association of Women Judges from its launch on January 7, 2017 until February 21, 2020, when she was appointed patron of the association effective February 27, 2021. In 2019, Justice Phillips achieved the honor of becoming only the second woman to act as president of the Court of Appeal, appropriately for the Hilary term. Justice Phillips' regional reach was not diminished by her assumption of judicial office. She is a member of the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers and from February 2016 of the Judicial Services Commission of the Turks and Caicos Islands. She is scheduled to be appointed president of that commission effective June 2, 2021. A significant feature of Justice Phillips' life and work is the many times she was a trailblazer, a feat for which she was recognized and celebrated by her alma mater, one of her most satisfying honors. And what a sterling trail of achievements, of significant groundbreaking firsts it has been. The first student from the school to become Queen's Counsel, April 19, 1998. First woman who trained as a solicitor to take silk. First woman to be elected president of the Jamaican Bar Association. First chairperson of the Regulatory Market and Oversight Committee of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. First woman trained as a solicitor to become a judge. First judge of appeal from the school. First woman to be elevated to the Court of Appeal directly from the bar. First student and the second woman to act as president of the Court of Appeal. And part of the first all-female panel at the Court of Appeal. As noteworthy as these many firsts are, those of us privileged to know and work with Justice Phillips celebrate her most for being a first-rate human being. We know her noble character did not emerge by accident. Family, faith, and fortitude have been guiding pointers on her life's compass. As noteworthy as these many firsts are, those of us privileged to know and work with Justice Phillips celebrate her most for being a first-rate human being. We know her noble character did not emerge by accident. Family, faith, and fortitude have been guiding pointers on her life's compass. Once anyone goes beyond a passing acquaintance with Justice Phillips, it becomes pleasantly clear the deep love that is shared in the Phillips family. She was very close to her older sister, Ambassador Eleanor Felix, now deceased, and remains very close to her brothers, Rennie and Jeffrey Phillips, as well as to her nephews and nieces, into whose lives she has poured many hours and other elements of love. Justice Phillips credits her parents for instilling sound principles within her, which have stood the test of time. Some of these principles that have guided her include: a principle once bent is broken, so try to live by it. Do unto others as you would that they do unto you. And after man has done his best, angels can do no more. There is perhaps no better revelation of character than when we go through periods of adversity. Through illnesses, various challenges, and periods of grief occasioned by loss of loved ones, Justice Phillips has remained steadfast, resolute, always pressing on, upheld by her abiding faith in God and the support of family and friends, an ongoing life of triumph. Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, CD, JA, a multi-talented legal luminary and judicial icon, a trailblazing woman who has excelled not just in law, but in business, the arts, and culture. A natural nurturer who displays fierce loyalty to family and unflinching support of friends and mentees, all clothed in her signature sensitivity. She is possessed of an amazing work ethic and remains perennially positive despite life's inevitable setbacks. Prophetically well named, Justice Hilary Phillips adds life, color, charm, and class to any situation. Justice Phillips, thank you very much for your stellar contribution to Jamaica's legal landscape, and particularly for your invaluable contribution to the life, work, and spirit of our court. This is not goodbye, as we will be calling on you for guidance, training, and counsel. We hope you will find time to fit us in among the many other pursuits you will now have more time to pursue. May God always overshadow you with His grace and matchless blessings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jared Fletcher. I'm sure we will all agree that that is truly a synopsis of a great and remarkable career. It was recognized from very early in Justice Phillips's career that she was not only then, but destined to be a woman of distinction. She was recognized in a 1978 publication entitled Woman of Distinction in Jamaica. And there, the new career of Justice of then Hilary Ann Phillips was recognized as an attorney at law, an associate to the firm of Judah Denno Lake Nunez Schofield and Company, and the member of so many associations even then. The Judicature Appellate Jurisdiction Act states that the Chief Justice may be invited to sit on the court when no less than 4 other judges of the court are sitting. Today, the court is pleased to have the Chief Justice sitting with us, and he will be pleased to know that we have satisfied the relevant provision of the Act, as we have 14 judges sitting en banc today. And just in case anyone is doing a quick calculation of what our cadre of judges should be, please note that 2 of the judges sitting this morning are presently on vacation, but could not be kept away from attending this ceremony to pay tribute to a colleague who is respected and loved. I now call upon the Chief Justice of Jamaica, the Honorable Justice Brian Sykes. Touch you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Court of Appeal. And in keeping with the words that you had spoken earlier, I will adopt the protocol that you have established in terms of the salutations this morning. So this is my second visit to the Court of Appeal in under 6 months. And the first was the retirement of the then President of the Court of Appeal, the Honorable Mr. Justice Dennis Morrison. And now I am here to celebrate and to mark the achievement and contribution of the Honorable Ms. Justice Hilary Phillips. Functions of this nature are important because they allow time, at least initial reflection on the service of judicial officers who, as members of the judiciary, in the context of a constitutional democracy, are vital contributors to our democratic form of government. The judiciary has the vital role of declaring in some instances, developing in others, what the law is between citizen and between citizen and government, and the word government being used here in its broadest meaning to encompass all forms in which the executive arm of government manifests itself. All levels of the legal system are important, but appellate courts perform a vital and indispensable function, and that is to review the work done by trial courts in an atmosphere of calm and free from the passion that often accompanies trials. The Honorable Ms. Justice Phillips, the daughter of the Honorable Mr. Justice Roland Phillips, former Chief Justice of Jamaica, joined the judiciary in August of 2009 after many years of practice at the bar. As we have heard, she's a graduate of the St. Andrew High School for Girls, was called to the inner bar in 1998 when she was appointed Queen's Counsel. She has served the legal profession not only as counsel but as Vice President and ultimately President of the Jamaican Bar Association. She made significant contribution to the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council for over 2 decades, and during all of that, along with her other activities that we have heard about, found the time to be editor of the Jambar, the journal produced by the Jamaican Bar Association, and she did this for many years. She brought this energy and dynamism to her judicial career, and I now have the answer to why it is that when she had attained the age when many of us would not bother to do so, she learned to type. So, having heard of her previous history, it is not surprising then that she found that the output of her secretary was not to her liking, so she decided that she would learn the skill of typing in order to enable her to produce her judgments in a more timely manner. Like the recently retired President of the Court of Appeal, Mr. Justice Dennis Morrison, Justice Phillips has a passion for teaching, sharing knowledge with members of the profession at all levels, and she has demonstrated this by being a tutor at the Norman Manley Law School for many, many years. She has been a constant source of encouragement and wisdom to her judicial colleagues. Up to this point in my remarks, I have not mentioned the significant judgment she has written or contributed to in vital ways to the final product. At this point, I will mention just 2, which have and will become very influential cases as time goes on. And these are the cases of Maurice Tomlinson and Television Jamaica Limited, in which her ladyship confirmed that the new Charter of Fundamental Rights binds both the state and private citizens. Also declared that the right to freedom of expression in the new Charter does not mean that the person who wishes to exercise the right to speak can commandeer the property of another to enable him to say whatever he or she wishes to say. Now, I must say that this was a case in which I was a part of a panel, the full court, whose decision was upheld. And on that panel, we had Her Ladyship, Miss Justice Paulette Williams, now Justice of Appeal, and the Honorable Sir Justice Pusey, who acted as a Judge of Appeal. And so the decision was upheld. By contrast, when I sat by myself in the matter of 3M Company and Manufacturer 3M SA, the case on trademarks, the trial judge was reversed on every point, save the facts of the case. And so it is the benefit then of having judges who go on to higher office sitting with you, so your judgment will be more secure in the Court of Appeal. So that case has established that a unique and substantial reputation enjoyed by a trademark is entitled to full protection, even if the public would not be confused into thinking that the goods and services supplied by another organization or another manufacturer would be confused with the one that has a long-standing reputation. And so that case will become and is becoming a significant case in the world of trademarks. And it is significant to note that next week, Wednesday in particular, there is a World Intellectual Property Organization seminar being held for Caribbean judiciaries, and that case, the 3M case decided by Justice Phillips, has been selected as the one that will occupy the minds of judges across the region. So speaking personally, as I come to the end of these brief remarks, I am grateful for her constant expressions and support for me, both as counsel and as Chief Justice. I suppose that being the daughter of a Chief Justice would have exposed her to the intricacies of leading a judiciary and the stresses that can come along with that. And one of her most visible representations and demonstration of support has been memorialized in the document called, which you have heard, Report on the Criteria for the Appointment of Judges, which she completed leading a group of persons, including the former president, judges of appeal, and also parish court judges and members of the bar, to develop, shall I say, appropriate criteria for the 21st century for the selection and appointment of judicial officers. And that report has been considered by the Judicial Services Commission, and overall it has been approved, and it will be and is being implemented as we go along. So I wish to say to her, thank you, Justice Phillips, for your support and to the service to the people of Jamaica. And may you continue to serve in ways that are less demanding but equally pleasurable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Ladies and gentlemen, when Hilary embarked on her career as a jurist, she worked side by side with someone who had been a friend since she was a teenager. Their friendships helped to build the camaraderie of the court. It set a tone and example for others to follow. That person is the recently retired Justice C. Dennis Morrison, former president of the court. It is only fitting, therefore, that he should be called upon to make a contribution to this ceremony. He's on the virtual platform because of his age, because of the protocols, and we now call upon Justice Morrison, retired.
Mr. President, I thank you so much for this unexpected invitation. But it is a great pleasure for me to say something on the occasion of the retirement of my beloved friend of many years, and up until December, my judicial colleague, Ms. Justice Hilary Ann Phillips. Her service in the law has been one, as you have heard from Mrs. Jarrett Fletcher's beautifully read and rendered citation, has been exemplary. She has made contributions far and beyond what might have been expected of her in any sphere in which she worked, and any sphere that had the privilege of being the beneficiary of her service and her generosity. We joined the Court of Appeal within, I joined in April 2008. She came on, as you know, in August 2009. so that in a very real sense, our service on the court has been coterminous. She has been, during my time, she was one of the strong voices in the court, one of the voices for constructiveness, one of the voices that could always be depended on to bring balance to any deliberation. As the Honorable Chief Justice has noted, her judicial output in terms of judgment writing has been significant, and it is only fitting, as the Chief Justice should point out, that her magisterial judgment in the 3M case, in which I had only the distinction of being able to say I concur and have nothing to add, is going to receive the attention it deserves at an international level in due course. To Hilary, my friend, I say that the time comes, I suppose, to retire, to step back and to try and take things a little easier. I am trying now to get accustomed to it myself, and I have many roses and orchids to show you as you go forward in this more relaxed life. All the best to you. Congratulations on a wonderful career. The judiciary will be lessened by your leaving, but it will have been greatly, greatly, greatly enriched over the years by your having served on it. May it please you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Justice Morrison. And we say we still miss you. In recent times, Justice Phillips has spread her influence to lands overseas. She would not have been expecting the contribution of our next speaker, the Honorable Sir Michael Barnett, President of the Court of Appeal of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, who chairs the Judicial Service Commission of the Turks and Caicos Islands. We are hoping that his participation this morning is a surprise for Justice Phillips. Sir Michael.
Mr. President, may I thank you for inviting me to participate in this morning's ceremony as your court sits specially to record the fact that Justice Hilary Phillips is about to demit office as a Justice of Appeal. May I begin by bringing greetings to you and the Justices of the Court from the Justices of the Court of Appeal of the Bahamas. In particular, I bring greetings from Mr. Justice Roy Jones, who presently serves on our court and has been a part of the Bahamas' judiciary for a number of years. Indeed, Mr. President, the Bahamian judiciary has greatly benefited from the services of many luminaries from your country. Harvey DaCosta and Viv Blake were former Chief Justices of the Bahamas. Sir Edward Zaka, Justice Kenneth Smith, Kenneth Henry, and Boyd Carey, to name but a few, have all served on the Bahamas' Court of Appeal. I wish to publicly acknowledge and thank you and the people of Jamaica, particularly those who are watching this special sitting, for the contributions of your colleagues that your colleagues have made over the years to the development of our jurisprudence. But sir, this special sitting is to acknowledge the services to Jamaica of my friend, Hilary Phillips. To put it in some perspective, I have known Justice Phillips both socially and professionally for a number of years. As many of you probably know, before, and as mentioned in the video or in the recording, before she became a judge, Justice Phillips was in private practice. She was a partner with Arturo Stewart in their law firm with Lloyd Perkins. Well, Arturo's wife, Marcia, is the sister of my brother-in-law, Colin Cover. So I have known Hilary as a member of my wider family for some years and would see her when I had occasion to visit Jamaica. She would often be at the Stewart's home. And even before she became a judge, she would hold court and regale us with stories of her adventures in life. More recently, I've come to know Justice Phillips on a professional basis. As a judge, I've considered many judgments from the Court of Appeal of Jamaica, many of which were authored by Justice Phillips. Her clarity of thought and exposition of legal principles have benefited us all. More recently, she and I both serve, along with retired Chief Justice McCalla, as members of the Judicial Services Commission of the Turks and Caicos Islands. There I could see her incisive mind. She was willing to ask the tough questions and speak truth to power. She spoke directly and frankly, whether it was with the governor, the Chief Justice, a judge, a magistrate, or a senior member of the bar. She was forthright and candid in her views and in giving her advice. But after the work is done, she would find the balance to enjoy a good meal and relax. As some of us approach that age, we query the wisdom of the makers of our constitutions in putting us out to pasture after we've achieved the promised 70. Although it may seem a bit self-serving, there's still wisdom and energy beyond those years. But as my grandmother would say, suffer it to be so. So as we acknowledge the personal contribution of Justice Phillips, all manner of people that appear before us. The harsh fact is that many people come before us having greatly injured the community in the most harmful of ways. People come before us because they have not been able to solve their problems themselves and look to us to have the wisdom to find the right resolution. These are not easy tasks. As we acknowledge and say thanks to Justice Phillips for her years of contribution and pray God's blessing for her health and well-being in her retiring years, we also take this opportunity to renew our own commitment to our judicial oaths and continue to ask him to give us the wisdom, the temperament, and the humility to meet the responsibility that he has entrusted to us. Hilary, I wish you well, and God willing, I look forward to seeing you soon, otherwise than by Zoom. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Sir Michael. We really appreciate your taking the time to join us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, having heard from the bench, serving and retired, we now call upon the bar. The leader of the bar is the Honorable Attorney General, Mrs. Marlene Malahoo Fort, Queen's Counsel, whom we now call upon.
May it please you, my Lord President, my Lord Chief Justice, my ladies and lords. At this special sitting of the court, occasioned by the retirement of Her Ladyship, the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Phillips, Commander of the Order of Distinction, I crave your Lordship's indulgence to enable me to firstly acknowledge my learned friends at the bar, as well as my colleague from the legislature present here, and also to enable me to express my delight at being here in my maiden appearance as Attorney General to pay tribute to this very distinguished lady of the law. Admittedly, my Lord President, my encounter with Justice Phillips in her formal judicial role is limited to a single appearance before her after I became Attorney General in a matter where she sat as a single judge in chambers, for which I had conduct before I was appointed to the office of Attorney General. Although I had instructed other counsel, my presence was required. I will always fondly remember Justice Phillips's graciousness and the kind guidance she provided regarding the orders sought from the court without compromising her duty to both sides. Outside of the courtroom, my acquaintance with Justice Phillips, both personally and professionally, goes back to about 25 years. Whether we spoke about the law, hot button issues, or any of her many passions, including fashion and the performing arts, my every exchange with Justice Phillips was always pleasant. I was always struck by her amazing capacity to discuss the most contentious issue with a high level of light-spiritedness, yet with profound clarity. My lords, the onset of retirement brings reflection, not only for the retiree, but also for family, friends, acquaintances, and colleagues. When I received the invitation from the court to be present here, I started to think back in earnest on my interactions with Justice Phillips over the years. I recall the time during her presidency of the Jamaican Bar, when the wrath of the St. Elizabeth Bar was ignited against one of the sitting judges for the parish. It did not take long for their allegations to escalate into a full-blown dispute, not only at the level of the Cornwall Bar, but also at the jam bars. Hers was the burden of dealing with the matter from the bar. While many jumped to hasty conclusions about the state of affairs and the health of the bench-bar relationship, Madam President of the Bar, as she then was, took the decision to launch her own investigations into the allegations. She went to great lengths to hear out those members of the bar who were aggrieved, as well as others. I was reliably informed that she even interviewed or caused to be interviewed litigants who appeared before the court. And hearing all of that, I began wondering when I would have heard from her, as I was not only the sitting judge against whom the allegations had been made, but I was also serving as president of the Association of Resident Magistrates. After a while, Justice Phillips, as she now is, sought me out. And to borrow the term from the citation, with her unique brand of charm, she pulled me over and said, regarding that matter with the lawyers from down St. Elizabeth, I did not bother to speak to you because after I did my investigations, I concluded that a lot of mischief was afoot and the allegations were unsubstantiated. I further recall discussing her exchange with me with my husband. And in his judicial tone, he said to me, well, you know, she took the right approach. On the matter, you are not in her jurisdiction, but apart from that, there was no need for her to hear from you since she made a finding in your favor. There is only need to hear from someone when you're likely to rule against them. That is the hallmarks of a good judge, said he. And as it turned out, his words were prophetic. The same year Justice Phillips took up her appointment as a Justice of Appeal, I transitioned to the legislative and executive branches. From then on, I had the pleasure of reading her judgments and conversing with her on, when occasions arose, on topical issues of the day. Again, it struck me that, unlike other judges, understandably so, Justice Phillips was never shy nor reluctant to engage on topics avoided by others in her role. My lords, recently we had the occasion to speak at length on a matter that did not involve any case before the court, but which touched and concerned the role of Attorney General, and in particular as head of the bar. Our long-standing personal and professional relationship provided a holding ground for us to speak candidly and comfortably with a healthy respect for our differing perspectives on the related issues of high sensitivity. As I reflected on that exchange, I took so much comfort in the fact that Justice Phillips understood, understands, appreciated, and appreciates that there is tension in the relationship between the courts and the other branches of the state, a tension that stems from the differing roles of the branches. The role of the judiciary is to review the actions of the branches and evaluate whether they are acting lawfully. This role, my lords, say legal scholars, naturally meet with opposition from the other branches, particularly when the judiciary, through its rulings, frustrates political goals the other branches pursue. It really struck me that Justice Phillips understood and continues to understand that this tension between the courts and the other branches is natural, and in our exchange, we mutually opined that it was desirable. If the court's rulings were always satisfactory to the other branches, it would raise a suspicion that the court was not properly fulfilling its role in the democracy. Thus, criticism of the court's rulings is proper and benefits the court itself, for this criticism helps to guard the guardians. Indeed, my lords, the constant tension between the judicial branch and the other branches stem from their distinct roles. Their different functions are based on different points of view, which in turn lead to a different perception of reality. It is much like differing perspectives from different viewers that different viewers have on a statue based on their own viewing angle. The legislative viewpoint is political. The judicial viewpoint is a legal one. Other branches seek to attain efficiency. The courts seek to attain legality. However, as she understood and we spoke, the tension should never be allowed to deteriorate where criticism is transformed into an unbridled attack. Because after all, public confidence in our democratic institutions should not be harmed, and the checks and balances that characterize the separation of powers must not be undermined. This leads me, my Lord President, to say from the executive and legislative branches where I sit, and perhaps to take the privilege to speak on behalf of my colleague from the judiciary, your own family member, to say thank you for your sterling contribution to country in your role as Justice of Appeal. Although it seemed like only yesterday that you ascended to this high office from the private bar as the first woman to do so, your more than decade-long contribution to the development of the local, wider Caribbean, as well as the British Commonwealth jurisprudence is etched in the annals of history. My instructions, my lords, my lady, from the learned Director of State Proceedings, who heads the litigation division of my chambers, Ms. Althea Jarrett, are that counsel appearing before Justice of Appeal Phillips had to be extremely prepared, as she always engaged counsel with probing, thought-provocative questions, while at the same time being careful not to descend into the arena as an advocate. Although she never suffered fools gladly, she was always courteous and patient with counsel. We at the Attorney General's chambers are of the concurring view that her judgments have helped to develop our jurisprudence on myriad legal issues. They are all masterfully written, reflecting thorough research of the law, sound analysis and reasoning, which are the hallmark of legal scholarship. And so you will be missed. On a concluding note, my Lord President, the former President of the Court, the Honorable Justice Ian Fort, retired, taking advantage of his conjugal relationship with the Attorney General, also conveys his best wishes to you, Justice Phillips, his learned friend. Said he from experience, retirement is when you stop living at work and start working at living. As you reach this time in your life, may you find joy in remembering past success and happiness in pursuing new hopes and plans. And may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rain fall soft on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. May it please you, my lords, my lady.
Thank you very much, Madam Attorney. The Learned Attorney General has raised a number of constitutional issues for us to ponder on. One of the offices created by the Constitution is the Director of Public Prosecutions. The current holder of that post, Ms. Paula Llewellyn Queen's counsel, would not have crossed swords with then advocate Ms. Hilary Phillips at the bar. But the learned director has appeared many times before the Honorable Miss Justice Phillips. The learned director, being an esteemed member of the Toastmasters, is well qualified to give a tribute to Justice Phillips. However, despite her qualifications as a Toastmaster, we have to remind her and those who follow to stick to the time limits that we have established. So thank you very much, Madam Director.
I'm so very sorry. May it please you all. I'm a positive person, but I must confess this is a sad occasion. Before I even appeared before Miss Justice Phillips, I had the pleasure of knowing her as an exemplar of what I would call the lawyer's lawyer, a person who a lot of us as female professionals in this profession held in very high esteem. And when you became a judge of appeal, being a criminal law practitioner, and I think I speak on behalf certainly of all the senior officers, I've had conversations with them before I came here today, it was wonderful to me as a female professional to see you evolve into a very, very fine person in understanding the criminal law. I had wondered, because I had you in high esteem as a civil practitioner of some 30 years at least. And it is a wonderful thing for me to say today that that keen intellectual acuity that you have always exuded has had your contribution recorded in so many seminal cases in the criminal arena. Cases on fresh evidence, identification, the powers of indicum. I read your judgment. It was beautifully written. Incompetence of counsel. You have written the judgment in a locus classicus now, Kenyatta Brown, and also just recently the last case that I appeared in before you, and that was Andrew Mackey. Mutual legal assistance in should I say, a hot case that was affirmed in the Privy Council. You were part of that panel. And I would like to say that for me, you will always be an exemplar of the finest professional as a jurist. But I've heard this talk about you being a fashionista and, of course, a wonderful dancer. But nobody has mentioned the love that you and I share of cricket for me. And I use cricket as a metaphor. You are a master batsman coming in at number 3. You have the wonderful gift of discernment. You know which shot to play, irrespective of whether, in terms of the vicissitudes of life, you are facing a spinner coming at you with a googly, a pace bowler coming at you with a throat cutter, or anybody else. And you are the consummate team player. Your team, I'm sure this appellate body would know that you will be with them before, during, and after, and to the end. They can depend on you. There will be no need to send in a night watchman before the time, because you, as a master batsman, Ms. Justice Phillips, would always play to the end and anchor that innings. And of course, your gift of discernment, your grace, your self-discipline, your work ethic, your class, your skill has ensured that, like a true master batsman, you will not be caught up and you get carried away by exuberance, youthful or otherwise, so that you play a false stroke or you're caught in the slips. You always protect your crease, and you make sure that even though the ball may be coming, you're able to dig out the yorker. And of course, your temperament, your wonderful temperament, ensures that you know when to play to get 6, when to get 4 at the boundary, and of course, when to play the ball gently back to the bowler. Meanwhile, protecting your wicket. I remember several times interacting with you at Sabina Park, and I know that you are an avid cricket lover. So you now, after retirement, have the time to indulge in that. Post-COVID-19, all being well. But certainly on behalf of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, I can say, Madam Justice Phillips, that for prosecutors past, prosecutors present, as one senior male officer said to me this morning, and I think you know who I'm speaking about, as a mentor, you are like a hero. You were his hero. And I believe that you will continue to be a great mentor to upcoming lawyers in the profession. Finally, before the umpire puts his finger up, let me say that I had several conversations with your dear departed sister, and there was a mutual admiration society. She was so proud of you. And I was so proud to be able to say to her, yes, she is an inspiration to a lot of us female professionals in this business. So in the words of another great public servant from the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, who shared your sister's name, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of the dream. I associate that with you. And that is why I know that even after retirement, you will continue to teach. You will continue to mentor. You will continue to engage in life, though at another level. It has been a great pleasure appearing before you. It has been a great pleasure reading your judgments. It has been a great pleasure engaging in the discussion of law with you. And it has been even a greater pleasure to me to see that although I love to talk about being in the trenches, you so easily showed me that I did not have the sole experience where that is concerned. But because of your great mind, you were able so easily to go into the trenches, understand what is happening there as a matter of law, and give justice as an appellant judge. So I, on behalf of my officers at the DPP, I salute you. You have been a great master batsman, number 3, you would know why, an officer, and a great lady, a master teacher. And you will, the memory of your brilliance will live on in all of your cases. And I look forward to seeing you at Savannah Park and relaxing and discussing cricket. Thank you very much. May it please you, my lord.
Thank you very much, Madam Director. Director of Public Prosecutions has mentioned Justice Phillips' love for cricket. There is also a love for athletics. And there is, apart from the last championships which had to be held without spectators, she has been at almost every championship for the past several years. Justice Phillips has been, as you have heard, a member of the General Legal Council for many years. And the present chairman of the council, Mr. Alan Wood, Queen's Counsel, is now called upon to make his contribution.
It is true to say that Justice Hilary Phillips was born to the law, daughter of a Chief Justice, articled to outstanding solicitor advocate Arthur Schofield, but nevertheless her interests are varied. I first met Justice Phillips perhaps 40 years ago. I had just come into the law, but at the time when I met her, it was not as a lawyer. She was chaperoning, I should say vigilantly chaperoning a group of modeling contestants at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Professionally, I came to know her as a gifted and powerful advocate with a capacity for work that was second to none. And those are the qualities I believe that she has brought to the Court of Appeal. I wish to acknowledge her contribution to the legal profession, not only in her latter role as a judge of appeal, but as president of the Bar Association, member of the General Legal Council, and a long-standing member of the Disciplinary Committee of the General Legal Council. She has always taken pride in recounting to me that she is perhaps the longest-serving member of the Disciplinary Committee, serving a phenomenal 22 years. She has left an indelible imprint on the legal profession, being one of the architects of programs that we now accept as norms and standards for well-regulated legal profession. And her programs have received statutory adoption in the Legal Profession Act. I speak to the program of continuing legal education, the accounting regulations, and the provisions in the Act for protection of client property when attorneys are deceased or become unable to carry on practice. She was one of the authors of those programs, not only as a member of the General Legal Council, but in her role as president of the Bar Association. She has always evinced compassion for others, and in that role on council, she was always the first to volunteer to mentor any young attorney who was seen to be in need of guidance and advice. That initiative became the program for the Jamaica Bar Association's mentoring program. Justice Phillips, thank you for your contribution to the profession and to our jurisprudence. And on behalf of the council, I wish you a happy and rewarding retirement. Thank you. May it please you, my lords.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wood. Two of the many things that Justice Phillips and Queen's Counsel, Mrs. Sandra Maynard Phillips, have in common are the love of dance as an art form and a passion for the law. Mrs. Maynard Phillips may tell you more as she addresses us now.
May it please you, Mr. President, my lords. I must work the work of him who sent me while it is day. That bit of gospel from John chapter 9, verse 4 could well be your ladyship's mantra. It is, however, not the volume of the work you have done that will be your legacy, so much as the quality of the work. Your ladyship has made much good law over the course of your tenure as a judge of appeal. In doing so, you have done your country and its people a great service. The Solomonic nature of judicial decision-making implies incorrectly an absence of empathy. We all know the seemingly harsh decision that the baby should be cut in two resulted ultimately in his safe and sound reunification with his mother. It is but one, although perhaps the best known, illustration of the experience, application, and knowledge of human nature that goes into wise judicial decisions. This is mind-bendingly difficult work that your ladyship has, over the years, applied herself to and carried out with distinction. It is evident that your ladyship takes your responsibility and duty very seriously, no matter how large and complex or seemingly small and straightforward the appeal. And I use the word seemingly advisedly, and your brethren know why. Your ladyship is one of a very few judges of appeal who have been appointed directly to this court from a practice at the bar without having had any prior judicial experience in the courts below. Your ladyship's well-known capacity for work that made you a busy and much sought after Queen's Counsel at the bar, was, however, already well established at the time of your appointment to the Court of Appeal bench. Having made the transition, however, the ultimate wow factor has to be the speed of your acquisition of expertise in those areas of the law that were not routine for you at the time of your appointment to the Court of Appeal. For example, as my friend has pointed out, in the area of criminal law. Within a remarkably short period, my lads, it was obvious to anyone in your courtroom that you were as comfortable adjudicating upon a criminal matter as you were adjudicating upon a civil one. While, my lady, maintaining the decorum of any court of which you formed a part, your ladyship was simultaneously able to engender the respect and indeed affection of the advocates appearing before you, and I dare say without exception. Your ladyship is somehow able to magically and strategically deploy your pleasant, disarming, and sunny personality to dispel hostility and tension, even on occasion, to the point of heralding the arrival of a welcome détente. And all this without in any way undermining the seriousness of the environment or of the matter under your consideration. My lady, your more than passing interests in the worlds of the performing arts, fashion, and sports, as well as your position as a former president of the Jamaican Bar Association, no doubt helped make you pretty much a household name and one of the most well-known members of the legal profession. The interest you take, my lady, in the well-being of your students and the legal professional colleagues you have is kaleidoscopic in its nature and multi-generational in its impact. You are beloved by old and young alike. It comes as no surprise to anyone that this regard that you readily display for others is reciprocated. Your ladyship is a treasured member of our bench whose place among Jamaica's memorable appellate judges is secure. May it please you.
Thank you very much, Queen's Counsel. Miss Phillips, the attorney at law and advocate, spent many years at a practice at Swallowfield Road. One of her beloved partners from that practice is Mrs. Denise Kitson, Queen's Counsel, of Grand Stewart Phillips, who will now address us.
My Lord President, my Lord Chief Justice, my Lady Phillips, and all other judges of the court and the Supreme Court, past and present. I am indeed honored to have been asked to address this sitting to mark the retirement from the bench of the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Phillips, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Judge of Appeal. To say that Lady Phillips's sojourn in the law has been marked by unstinting dedication and service to the profession is an understatement. From her admission to the bar at the age of 23 years, she has given immeasurably to every single facet that there was, as you have heard. And I therefore will not rehearse them. But of course, that salutary distinction of becoming the first woman to become president of the Bar Association cannot be gainsaid. Justice Phillips' tenure as president of the bar was marked by her willingness to fight for the precepts which she holds dear and to oppose actions which affected members of the bar. How many remember President Phillips is leading a group of gowned attorneys in silent protest in the Parliament, followed by a march outside of Gordon House against the illegal search of the offices of attorneys? That attack on the sacred tenet of legal professional privilege was challenged by the Bar Association under her leadership, eventually achieving success in the Court of Appeal. Then there was her trenchant resistance on behalf of the bar against the implementation of a change in the start time for hearings in the courts. Success there too. And of course, you have heard from my learned friend, Mr. Wood, about her commitment to the General Legal Counsel. And of course, you have also heard about her service on the Council of Legal Education, the Legal Aid Council, the Copyright Tribunal, amongst others. But it is her impact, initially as a litigator, which touched the lives of many, clients and colleagues alike. Hilary Phillips never shirked difficulty as she performed in all these capacities while shouldering a heavily loaded litigation practice. She led by example, working long hours into the night to ensure that the finish line was met. We heard that often. And for those of us who had the privilege of calling her leader, cannot but thank her immensely for sharing her knowledge, her work ethic, and her respect. She not only led, she listened. She never subscribed to the notion that young counsel was to be seen and not heard. Instead, Hilary encouraged a comity of spirit and friendship in chambers which have stood the test of time amongst those so fortunate. And of course, for those who know, Hilary Phillips enjoyed every moment of a good fight in the trenches, Madam Director. After a hard-won victory, she was not at all fazed by counsel who on losing railed, "Gwe, wanna worry a girl from Swallowfield." That description was gleefully accepted. Her imprimatur on signal decisions of this court, both at the bar, but particularly while on the bench, has and will undoubtedly shape the jurisprudence of tomorrow. Her judgments, particularly those in which she grappled with very difficult issues, are striking in their incisiveness and detailed analysis, and undoubtedly create the other arena in which her phenomenal reach is felt. For over 38 years, I've been privileged to call Justice Phillips mentor, senior, Hilary, partner, my lady, and most importantly, friend. Justice Phillips has been all of these and much more to many of us here and in the wider community. But all that she is has been undergirded by her love of family. Those who know her could not know of her adoration of her parents, Sir Rowland Phillips, former Chief Justice, as you have heard, whose photograph continues to grace the walls of her chambers. Her mother, Lady P, as well as her beloved sister Eleanor, now all in glory. Her brothers Rennie and Jeffrey, her niece, nephews, cousins Peter, Charmaine, Sandra, and others. Justice Phillips has taught GSAT, CXC, and she upholds and cherishes, and they love her. Then there is Beth Yang, her cousin and best friend, special. The members of my firm, the firm which Lady Phillips established in 1979, would never forgive me if I did not mention how much they respect and admire her and thank her for all that she was to our organization and all that she has given to a grateful nation. Not one to be cloistered in the proverbial ivory tower, Justice Phillips, as you have heard, found time for other activities to feed the soul in worship, in the NDTC, at Pulse, which she co-founded, and then, my Lord and friend, Madam Director, not just at cricket, not just at track, my Lord President, but also at the Indoor Sports Center, where netball is being played, and in the office where the Reggae Boys were present. Justice Phillips was at all of these. All who know her, whether her many friends or family or colleagues, call on her in the good times and the bad times. And when she's able, she's always there for them. Indeed, for all of us. And so, we are never other than willing to be there for her at all times. The challenging ones and the cherished ones. So today, on her retirement, I hail my friend, my learned friend, my very dear friend, Madam Justice Hilary Phillips. My lords, my ladies, may it please you.
Thank you very much, Madam Queen's Counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard of the impact of the Bar Association, Jamaican Bar Association, under the leadership of then Miss Hilary Phillips. The present president of the Jamaican Bar Association, Mr. Emil Leiber, will now address us.
May it so please you, my Lord President, my Lord Chief Justice, and your Ladyship, Honorable Miss Justice Phillips. Now, firstly, I must say, I was not actually supposed to be here today, but the legislature in their wisdom decided to extend their AGM ban. That resulted in a few more months of somewhat involuntary service. However, when it is that I received the invitation to attend today, I knew why, as they say, the Lord had put me to remain in this position, because it would have been one of my deepest regrets to have not had the opportunity to pay tribute to Justice Phillips. So I'm grateful for being here today. Now, in the spirit of advocacy, I could simply say I concur to all that has been said before me, and I endorse the statements of the learned Queen's Counsel before me. But if I might be permitted to add a few words about a lady called Hilary. Now, the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, CDJA, is a lady of unquestionable integrity, character, and intellect. And if one had not heard the tribute that was played earlier, one could also visit Justice Phillips's Wikipedia page to learn all the details of her career. It is in preparing for this that I learned that Justice Phillips was one of the noteworthy Jamaicans who has her own Wikipedia page outlining her career and her achievements. Now, Justice Phillips was president of the bar when I was first called to the bar. And she continued in that role for the first 2 years of my practice. She was the first president that I knew, and in doing so, she left an indelible imprint upon me as a practitioner, for which I am grateful. When one speaks of Queen's Counsel being a leader at the bar, one could well imagine that Hilary's picture is beside that statement. I recall as a young attorney meeting in the library of Grant Stewart Phillips as a member of the Social Affairs Committee for many years, when Hilary would actively participate and share her wisdom as well as pizza with us younger members of the bar. So she fed us and taught us at the same time. So if one attends church, one knows you need to feel the body, the mind, and the spirit. And the only thing missing there was the spirit, and even that probably came through, in the words that were shared. So we were at the Church of Hilary on a Friday evenings at Grant Stewart Phillips, as well as learned Queen's Counsel Mrs. Kitson. So Hilary has both, as we have heard, as president and also past president, a senior member of the bar, championed the causes of law students in particular in need of assistance. So Hilary, I would posit, spent almost as much time doing free advocacy as she did paid advocacy. She ensured that those who engaged in protests while attending the Faculty of Law, and those protests may have resulted in a criminal records that might have prevented them from being called, she ensured that they properly transitioned into practitioners of the law as they properly should. She brokered a settlement between the one who then stood at the head of the judiciary and one who made the public faux pas of making reference to being wolfed down. She placed law students under the Jam Bar committees. She guided many others to leadership roles within Jam Bar, and she has personally presented countless applications for enrollment to the bar. For many attorneys within my year group and beyond, Hilary was the siren of the bar. She drew you into service and ensured that you remain there. I think I'm probably the most senior member of the Social Affairs Committee today. So I went from being, the young voice to the one who is now telling them how it used to be back in the day. And Hilary is indeed directly responsible for that. As a practitioner, Hilary Phillips, Queen's Counsel, was at all times respected by her peers as a staunch opponent who was always prepared and effortlessly advanced complex points. Prior to ascending the bench, Justice Phillips was known, of course, as has been said, for her singular work ethic. But I also give the perspective of those who had to work with her. If you are not prepared to stay at the offices of Grant Stewart Phillips well into the wee hours of the morning, one could not readily and regularly associate oneself with Hilary Phillips QC, because she would work well into the night on her cases. And so those who worked with her were called upon to extend their stamina to match that of Hilary. But a love-hate relationship with the benefits of sleep was not all that Hilary Phillips QC was known for. Justice Phillips, of course, when she ascended to the Court of Appeal, seamlessly transitioned, as has been said. Now, to read one of Hilary's judgments, one had to be well-rested and of clear mind. It was not a judgment that one skims. one takes the time to read it paragraph by paragraph and absorb it, and in order to absorb the full wisdom therein. It is, of course, no stretch of the imagination to contemplate that Justice Phillips has continued and, in fact, exceeded the work ethic that she developed while in private practice. As a mentor, Justice Phillips has stood as an inspiration for all practitioners and, as has been said previously, female practitioners. So in her role as the first female president of the Jamaican Bar Association, she was the erudite face of the bar. And when young female counsel were seeking a role model to emulate and in whose footsteps to follow, Justice Phillips is always at the forefront of any list that might be assembled. She has mentored many a young practitioner and has continued to this day. So she has recently undertaken to encourage her brothers and sisters in the judiciary to volunteer as mentors for the recently relaunched Jambar Mentorship Program in partnership with the Norman Manley Law School. And of course, as we have said, she has been a tutor at the law school for countless years. And one of the counsel that she has mentored, one of the many counsels she has mentored, Counsel Sandra Goff, wished to share some of her memories of Hilary, who was her tutor, who cared about the personal lives and well-being of her students, as someone who always took the time, no matter how busy she was, to assist her students in any way she could. And I quote, "Her bearing and manner as senior counsel was first-rate, never boastful or arrogant in victory, and always graceful even in the few occasions of defeat." End of quote. Well, the quote continues, "A beautiful woman inside and out." And I certainly concur and endorse that statement. So it is perhaps unsurprising that Justice Phillips, the child of Sir Rowland Phillips and Lady Phillips, has ascended to the pinnacle of both the private bar and the judiciary. I did not have the privilege of knowing Hilary's parents, but I hypothesize that Justice Phillips is comprised of the best traits of her parents. Her father's legal erudition and judicial demeanor, combined with her mother's poise and charm. Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, CD, Justice of Appeal, a veritable lady of the law, its champion and always well-dressed flag bearer. I salute you on behalf of the Jamaican Bar Association, the Norman Manley Law School, and the entire private bar. You are a shining gem under whose light we have all grown. May you continue to go from strength to strength as you transition into a new stage of your legal career. May it so please you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leiber. In her role in leadership of the Jamaican Bar Association, then Ms. Phillips sought to include the other bar associations across the island who did not have the representation at the time that they presently do. She embraced the representation of those associations as well as that of the Advocates Association of Jamaica. And we shall hear from the representatives of those associations, starting with Mr. Leonard Green, President of the Advocates Association of Jamaica.
May it so please you, my Lord President, may it so please you, Chief Justice and Judges of Appeal, may it so please you, members of the Bar. It is indeed my pleasure to be given an opportunity to address this gathering on what I regard as a significant event. It is essential that we take time to recognize the stellar performance of your ladyship as one of the region's finest jurists. It is a special moment that I'm happy to be a part of. And I wondered why your registrar, Ms. Stacey Brown, sought to have me attend. And I now know why she made the effort. She needed a night watchman. And as it turned out, as you would appreciate, my lady, a night watchman needn't make scintillating strokes. Now, as president of the Advocates Association, I've taken the opportunity to solicit views from various persons in the organization. They spoke glowingly of you, and I will pass this on to you. They spoke of your diligence. They spoke of your application to the task. And those of us who have had the opportunity to work along with you, and those who have had the misfortune of working against you at the bar, will know that hard work is one thing you are not afraid of. For my own part, I would like to make mention of my personal observation. I remember on some early morning trips I made at 5:30 in the morning, walking, exercising. I would see you motoring in a BMW motor car, speeding well within the limits, the legal limits, heading towards that famous Swallowfield office that my learned friend, Queen Counsel Ms. Kitson, made mention of initially, and heading towards, at a later stage, King Street. And it is remarkable that my friend, Mr. Emile Leiber, spoke of your late nights. And I wonder where you would have found sleeping time with late nights and such early morning. I imagine it speaks to the application and the diligence that we thank you for. The service, the public service, that probably your eminent cousin is aware of, is clearly a family trait, and you exemplify that family trait. I want to say on behalf of the Advocates Association of Jamaica, we wish you all the best in your retirement. We wish you joy and happiness. And in all of this, we trust that you will get some rest. May it so please you, my lady. May it so please you, my lord.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Green. And joining us on the electronic platform now is Mr. Lambert Johnson, President of the Cornwall Bar Association.
Thank you, my Lord, President, my Lady Phillips, Honorable Chief Justice, distinguished judges, eminent colleagues. It is indeed an honor to be able to salute Justice Phillips on this well-deserved retirement. I must confess to more than a twinge of sadness when I received the invitation to pay homage on behalf of the Cornwall Bar Association, as this means that at this juncture, an illustrious judicial career has ended, and a most brilliant legal mind no longer graces the court. You can rest assured that we in the West hold you in the highest esteem, and we enjoyed tremendously those occasions when you came and sat in the court in Hanover, because those occasions we remember with great fondness. On Monday, the 20th of July, 2009, there was a seismic event which reverberated across the legal landscape as my Lady Phillips, you were sworn in as a judge of the Court of Appeal. Your sterling record of service impelled the Governor General to comment that the Court of Appeal was lucky to have you. And I endorse and agree with that comment 100%. And this was being said against a background where it was recognized that our Court of Appeal has an enviable record of fairness and courage and discharged its duties with great judicial responsibility. No doubt, a move from private practice to high judicial office was clearly a call of duty inspired by your father. But we salute you for your financial sacrifice in this regard. Milady, it is well known that you commenced your judicial career with great zest and energy, supported by an astounding intellect and an unquenchable desire to do what is right, just, and fair. Consequently, you wrote the lead opinion, and I counted, in at least 187 cases. The difficulty I have, I am still trying to tally the number of other cases on which you sat, but they are numerous. Your writings represent a solid body of jurisprudential work that is destined to influence and guide not only your fellow judges, but also attorneys for generations to come. Mark my words, attorneys, judges will say your name with reverence and respect. I am aware that very appropriately, you chaired that committee for judicial criteria that examined the qualities that make good judges. In retrospect, when your biography is written, it shall become the authority, indeed, the standard by which judges are judged. You may rest assured that in this respect, you will never lose your appeal. You are generous with your time and knowledge. And I'm aware, personally aware, that you have sought to groom the next generation of judges. And for that, we are all eternally grateful. So, on behalf of the Cornwall Bar Association, as you go into retirement, you can go with the assurance that your legacy will be honored, treasured, and revered. May it so please you, my Lord and Lady Phillips.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. And now we'll have Ms. Pearline Bailey, the President of the Northern Bar Association, also addressing us on the electronic platform. Trust that we'll be able to have Ms. Bailey's sound situation corrected.
My lady?
Thank you.
Can you hear me at this time?
Yes, you may now proceed.
It is often said that the only real elegance is in the mind. If you've got that, the rest really comes from it. Justice Phillips, over the years, I've had the pleasure of knowing you, and the interactions I've had with you have demonstrated that you are truly a woman of real class and elegance. I've never had the pleasure of appearing before you, but those who have say that you have true dignity. You have the enviable talent of a very sharp mind, a clear vision of complex issues, and an uncanny and gentle yet firm way of directing counsel to the issues and areas of law to which focus should be given whenever they appeared before you. You demonstrated a capacity to be patient with counsel, even in the face of unworthy arguments. Milady, you were elevated to your esteemed position at the time when women in your position were few and far between, and that is a testimony to your brilliance and determination to excel. You possess a remarkable intellect, one of which your colleague who sit with you remarked to me on one occasion that Hilary, you see, sometimes I feel so dumb sitting beside her. Your brilliance was recognized not just by counsel at the bar, but your colleagues with whom you sat. As counsel, as young counsel, I do remember the silent protest at Parliament as one of the attorneys who participated under threat of being arrested because that protest was illegal. I do remember you exhorting to us as counsel to act and behave with dignity so that our position which we were seeking to advance would be focused on and not any adverse behavior of counsel. I do recall that day. As counsel, I recall working with you in your capacity as president of the bar. I recall that it is your leadership and your conviction that as a bar, we needed to ensure that rules are in place for professional growth and development, your determination that we should work together to promulgate those rules, which led to numerous consultative meetings, some of which were held on a Saturday, some of which saw a number of us traveling from all over the island. Those meetings, milady, resulted in what we now know today as the rules for continuing legal education. I know as well, milady, that determination to advance the growth of the profession continued as you chaired the committee to establish the criteria for the employment of judges. And in that capacity, you also ensured that full participation and consultation with the bars was something to be achieved. Your contribution to the legal profession is outstanding. It will live on. But I know, milady, that your retirement will only see you giving us a less public face, but that you will continue to apply your brilliance, the work ethic, and the drive that you've exhibited all your life. It is true that your life has exemplified that elegance that you possess in your mind and that everything else has flowed from it. I thank you for your service and wish you the best in your retirement.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bailey. We have to convey our regrets that the representative of the Southern Bar Association will not be with us today. Mr. Dwight Reese, the president of that association, has expressed his regret as being able at the last minute to be unable to attend, and he apologizes for his absence. Justice Phillips, as you have heard, dotes on her family. She's always talking about her brothers, her niece, and her nephews. And when Eleanor was alive, her beloved sister, she always had pride of place. Her brother, Mr. Rennie Phillips, will now address us on the electronic platform.
Good morning, all. I bring greetings from Snellville, Georgia. And I'm very happy for this opportunity to represent the Phillips family in the diaspora in celebrating with my sister Hilary her retirement from the bench at the end of a productive and successful phase in her life. I would also like to, at this time, to recognize all our family members present virtually or in person, from Peter, the most senior, down to Ellie, our most recent addition. As I listened today to the many, and there were very many accomplishments of my sister Hilary, and that was a very excellent presentation that really, in fact, there were many things that I was not even aware of. And I could actually hear my mother's daily rendition of a verse from the Ladder of St. Augustine by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And with apologies to the poet, it went like this. The heights of great women reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their brothers slept, were toiling upwards in the night. And how Hilary toiled. Senior partner of a prestigious law firm which still bears her name, Queen's Counsel, CD, appellate court judge, and many other, president of the Bar Association, and many other things that have already been discussed. So who knew that a daily dose of poetry could produce such good results? I think my mother would be happy. My father's word was that he was constantly reminding us of was stick-to-itiveness, probably a Jamaicanization. And what that incorporates is determination, ability to overcome obstacles, perseverance, stiff upper lip, and just the ability to carry on. And I think, listening to all the comments made earlier, you could say that Hilary was blessed with a large amount of stick-to-itiveness. And it is no surprise that she used this character trait to reach the highest court in the land and follow in my father's footsteps. It was his opinion that the only thing anybody really needed was stick-to-itiveness and integrity. And my sister is blessed in large amounts with both. As mentioned, notwithstanding that scary work ethic, she nonetheless finds time for family. And in the early days, she was at many a football or tennis match of mine, and once even physically intervened in an altercation. But that's another story for another day. And when the next generation came along, as mentioned, she has been a teacher of GSAT and O-level, and teaching social studies to Matthew and Randy and others was probably just as hard as teaching at the law school. And then after that, again, another set of tennis matches with Randy, or football matches now with Benjamin, Jeffrey's son. And even going all the way to Atlanta to watch my daughter, Kimberly, dance. She's the greatest fan of her nieces and nephews and the proudest aunt of their respective achievements. Recently, unfortunately, She has had to take on a new role as the matriarch, and she has done it well, as she has done every task given to her. She has taken upon herself to ensure that the generation next absorb the tenets of our parents. She attempts to imbue them with a sense of self so they can grow into confident adults as well as principled. And it would be remiss of me not to mention the special bond that she did have with my sister Eleanor, and how this is perhaps why she takes her role of matriarch so seriously. Words cannot describe how she supported Eleanor as she battled her illness, and it explains to an extent why she's so close now with Tariq and Omar. To this day, she's supportive of Jeffrey and myself in all our endeavors, whether she thinks them to be completely sound. Hilary is God first, country, family, and then friendship. And I think that if anybody wants to emulate somebody as in the legal profession or otherwise, to be a woman of substance, she would be, as the word I've heard used, exemplar. We are very proud of all of her achievements and are happy that our colleagues have seen fit to have this special sitting to pay tribute to her in this special way. We join in thanking her for her years of service in the legal profession and in wishing her well in her retirement. Finally, we hope now that she will have a little time to spend with us and perhaps hug my granddaughter, who she has not been able to do, yet. And I'm looking forward to that. And I wish her well in the next phase of her life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rennie. And now, the lady of the hour, Miss Stick to It herself, the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Phillips, Commander of the Order of Distinction.
Thank you, everyone, for those kind words, starting with the citation given from all members of the judiciary. My Lord President, Chief Justice, Honorable Attorney General, the Honorable Director, Learned Queen's Counsel, Presidents of the Bar. I really feel humbled that so many persons think well of me, and it's wonderful for people to say nice things about you publicly while you're still alive, to hear them. So thanks again. Today is bittersweet, however. It is a day the Lord has made, and so let us rejoice and be glad in it. On the 8th of August, 1974, I began a journey that was going to be far more impactful than I expected, and it has brought me to this day. I recall well the first 5 years when I was an associate, which you have heard, at Leighton Eunice Schofield & Co., which during that period merged with Julia Denner and became Julia Denner, Leighton Eunice & Co., where I learned all about the difference of being in a small to medium-sized firm and then being part of a large player in the legal landscape in the region. It was a very important developing time for me. I thank Arthur Schofield of blessed memory, my former principal and lead partner, who took me under his wings and taught me a lot about what I know today, of being principled, hardworking, fair, and always courteous to one's colleagues. To me, he was a giant of a man, well respected in the profession, and a first-class, honest litigator professional. That's not an oxymoron. There were others there who guided me considerably. I'll only name a few. Junior Sanguinetti Steele, also of blessed memory, who taught me everything one needed to know in a family law practice without being harsh, unkind, and uncaring. And there was Anthony Days, who introduced me to nearly every then resident magistrate's court in the island, where we worked hard for various clients and were mainly successful. I learned to enjoy and be grateful for the chickens, yams, and breadfruit that sometimes represented our fees. It was a sad day when I left the firm, but I was ready to embark on a new journey. I joined the firm, as you've heard, of Perkins, Thomason, Grant, Stewart and Company, which became Perkins, Grant, Stewart, Phillips and Co., and then Grant, Stewart, Phillips and Co., where I helped build a litigation department about which I could be proud. Those were the wonderful years of fighting in the trenches. Fighting hard, yes, but fair, and making long-lasting friendships in the profession. During this period, I must mention a beloved mentor, who I hope is participating on the Zoom platform as he was invited, a leader of the bar, the Honorable Dr. Lloyd Barnett, Order of Jamaica, who guided me through those difficult, formative, and challenging years as a young counsel in a young partnership with big ideas. I also wish to publicly thank my former partners, Lloyd Perkins, Herbert Grant, S.R. Stewart, and later Denise Kitson, and all of those in the firm who created a wonderful, enjoyable, and enlightening environment for learning and cementing friendships which would endure. I thank them all for giving me the space to develop as Queen's Counsel and to take on cases which would not earn the firm a dime, but develop certain aspects of our local jurisprudence. I thank too my feisty, well-prepared, articulate opponents like Hugh Small, Pamela Benka-Coker, Dennis Goff, Dennis Morrison, B-Set Michael Hilton, John Vassell, all Queen's Counsel, and many others who helped to sharpen my own professionalism. And I thank also several of the judges before whom I appeared, who were so gracious and respectful at all times. Things were quite different in the early years. Before I joined my former firm, it was a fairly uncommon thing to see a female advocate in the courts. I was addressed thus by one male resident magistrate. "Yes, little miss, what can we do for you today?" It was quite daunting, but even more distressing when the client to whom you were assigned to conduct his case would query plaintively about the older male partners. Is this the best that they could do? But these initial unacceptances only made us work that much harder to be more successful than our male counterparts. I undertook the challenge. I had so much help, though, along the way. Counsel like Kevin Williams and hard-working staff at my former firm, making sure that all submissions were properly researched, bundles filed, documentation in place, and all deadlines kept. There was such dedication to excellence and detail. Thank you, Vita, Paul, Jacinth, Colette, and Mrs. Comrie. Those years, from 5 to 35, will always stand out as memorable. I must mention my years as a member of the Jamaican Bar Association and its president for 3 terms. I exhort all young professionals to be a member of your professional body and to participate in the organization in every way that you can on the various committees so that you can help the profession to influence important pieces of legislation. Be a voice for the voiceless. Protect the independence of the bar, the judiciary, the separation of powers, and persons from abuses by the state. Have a position on all important national issues. The citizenry is always better served by a strong bar. I would also exhort one to serve on the governing body of the profession, the General Legal Counsel and its Disciplinary Committee. Each attorney has different talents and a different role to play. But it's important to give your expertise to monitor the conduct of your colleagues and to assist with improving standards through continuing professional development, as it behoves all of us to endeavor to ensure that the legal profession continues to serve the nation well. For my own part, I'm of the opinion that my years on the Disciplinary Committee prepared me to be a jurist. You learn to listen, to be fair and balanced, and to take the harsh decision when necessary, based on the evidence and the facts. I look back on those 24 years as an educational stomping ground in my further development, and I thank all my colleagues with whom I served on the committee for their guidance and the leadership displayed throughout the years, from those early days of the chairmanship of Jocelyn Learani, Queen's Counsel, Christopher Babel, Dorothy Lightburn, Queen's Counsel, and Pamela Benka, Queen's Counsel. I would also exhort young attorneys to offer their time and talent as tutors at the Norman Manley Law School. My sojourn there as a tutor since 1994 has been one of the most enjoyable experiences for me. It is a very satisfying feeling observing students embracing your teaching and then demonstrating their knowledge aptly before you in court on the way to becoming real assets of the profession. It's always a pleasure from the standpoint of a jurist to be able to say favorably, after listening to obviously intense research, preparation, and presentation, either appeal aloud or dismiss, depending on the issues, to a former well-deserved student. It is important, given that we all know that the law is a very jealous mistress, to have another life where there is fun and family and laughter. We must be wholesome persons who are aware of and can make contributions to our respective societies. I'm very proud of my life and work as a member of Pulse and of the National Dance Theatre Company. Creativity feeds the soul and permits one to see several facets through the window. It is like a kaleidoscope of riches and should never be avoided at any cost. Finally, I must mention these last years in my journey in the profession, my years as a jurist here in the Court of Appeal. I must pay special tribute to the Honourable Mr. Justice Seymour Panta, in Order of Jamaica, who I would wish to say encouraged me, or maybe more appropriately, persuaded me to join the court in 2009, as he was president at the time. He was a sterling exemplar as a jurist and remains a good friend. The court has been a most rewarding part of my journey. My dear friend and colleague, Justice Vivienne Harris, shared with me just recently a belief she holds, with which I agree, from the words of the poet Khalil Gibran: work is love made visible. I have thoroughly enjoyed the work here. At times the pace has been brutal, but how can you not enjoy learning something new every day? And all the colleagues I've worked with in the court have assisted me in some special way, for which I publicly thank them. Justice Hazel Harris and Norma McIntosh and I, as you heard, had the joyous distinction of being the first trio of female judges to grace the Court of Appeal bench together. That was a significant and moving experience for me. I was assigned the chambers that had formerly been used by Justice Algernon Smith. I always felt I was the beneficiary of his calm, grace, and wisdom. Justices Carl Harrison and Howard Cook constantly encouraged me. Justice Ducaron was always so charming. That was the powerful, overburdened group of my early seven. Save and except Justice C. Dennis Morrison, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Order of Jamaica, the former president, of awesome ability coupled with amazing humility, whom I have singled out as our careers went along a parallel path. Our journeys were similar. We came here directly from the private bar, and as he got here just shortly before me, he went out of his way to welcome me and to make me feel at home right away. Our friendship has spanned over 5 decades, and I hope that he felt the support that I gave him during his presidency over the last 5 years of our sojourn here together. It was on his invitation that I participated in the work of the Court Users Committee and joined with all the stakeholders who had business with the court to improve its efficiency and its service to the public. I thank President Morrison for that opportunity, generally for his guidance and assistance over so many years, and his kind words as he spoke earlier on this, my special day. Then in 2012 came the new bright kid on the block, the Honourable Mr. Justice Patrick Brooks, who was so intense and optimistic about everything. He was endearing and also productive. He was incredible even from them. He is and will be a great president. For all the colleagues with whom I have sat in this court in more recent years, Justices Marva, Almarie, Frank and Paulette, and as we have become more in number, Justices Jennifer, Carol, Nicole Foster-Pusey, David and Nicole Simmons, I thank you for the camaraderie and the excellent work that we have been able to produce together and the friendships that we have made. I will miss you all, each and every one. Unfortunately, I have not had the privilege of sitting with the newbies, Justice Vivienne appointed and Justices Evan and Crescentia acting, but I'm sure you will all do well in your respective careers here in the court, and I wish you all good things. I wish to publicly thank my beloved Judicial Clerk, Janelle Nelson Gale, for the good work that we have been able to produce through her extraordinary and amazing work ethic, and also all the Judicial Clerks assigned to this court who have interfaced with me over the years, either through work or otherwise, for their commitment to a high standard of throughput. I must also thank our devoted Secretary of Staff, who endeavor as best as they can to make our life easier and vastly more productive. I must mention also the indefatigable registrar of this court, Mrs. Stacey Ann Brown. It would be nearly impossible to produce anything at the level that we do without the incredible professional approach that the registrar has to everything that she does. I thank her beyond measure. She's also such a wonderful leader and excellent asset to the court and the justice system that we must also thank her for the efficiency of her department, including the Deputy Registrar, Ms. Althea Edwards, and all members of the register staff, and Ms. White, who plays an important role in our human resource protection. I cannot forget our support staff, and Mrs. Doyley, who ensures that I am fed and watered each day, the close protection officers who see to our security, the cleaners who work tirelessly to keep COVID-19 at bay, and Kirk and Mr. Henry, who can be called on to do anything at any time and who do so willingly. I thank you all for your commitment over these, my last 12 years, and say that I will dearly miss you all. I must say a brief word now of gratitude to those who were there at the very beginning and who are responsible for launching me onto the unsuspecting world. My parents, Sir Rowland Phillips and Lady Daphne. To today, I remain guided by the powerful words and tenets of both of them, which you've heard earlier, or which I repeat constantly. For instance, as you would have heard, my father used to say, a principle once bent is broken. I've tried to live by that philosophy. He always exhorted me to reach the finish line. I've tried to do that also. He said that after man has done his best, angels can do no more. I've always tried to do my best. My mother stated often, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and try each day to make another man's life a little better if you can. And a smile a day keeps wrath away. I've tried to live by those instructions also. The footprints of my parents are huge, but it behoves me to try and follow them, notwithstanding. I thank them for that guidance and nurturing, and so too the members of my family. I miss particularly today my beloved sister Ambassador Eleanor Felix, who passed away nearly 2 years ago, and who would have ensured that I have obeyed all protocols, which would mean that I should stop now. I thank my very best friend and cousin Betty Ann, who is here today, who has been by my side as friend and family from way back when we met at St. Andrew Preparatory School at age 9. Also, the older brother that I did not have, my dear cousin Peter, who has been by my side all my life also. My brother Rennie, who is like my best buddy, and who I turn to for advice often, whom you heard from earlier. And thank you, Rennie, for your toast today. My brother Jeffrey, who is here with me in court today with his 2 sons, my nephews Benjamin and Matthew. Then there are my nephews, Eleanor's children, Tariq and Omar, Randy, Rennie's other son, and Kimberly, my one and only niece, Gina, Rennie's wife, Jason, Kimberly's fiancé, all of whom are on the Zoom platform, supporting me as they always do. My family has made it all worthwhile for me, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart for their lifelong continued support of me along my journey. There have also been several wonderful friends, far too many to name, who have walked my journey with me, and as the saying goes, friends are the family we choose for ourselves. I have been truly blessed. It only remains for me to thank the representatives from the Court Administration Division and the Jamaica Information Service for the extraordinary efforts I know have been made for this event to occur and be broadcast. And I thank the members of the media who have shown an interest, and all of you who have participated on the virtual platform, sharing this special moment with me. I wish to say that, God willing, as there seems to be some more energy left in me, and therefore something left to give, that I will try to be productive and to give back in my retirement. May it so please you, Mr. President, my Lord Chief Justice, my lords, my ladies, distinguished persons all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice Phillips. I cannot bring this ceremony to a close without echoing the words of gratitude that Justice Phillips just uttered to the many people who contributed to bringing this ceremony to fruition. Among the leaders are Justices MacDonald, Bishop, and Fraser, the Registrar, Mrs. Stacey Ann Brown, our Court Administrator, Ms. Judith White and her team, Mrs. Kadish Jarrett Fletcher and her team from the Court Administration Division of the Supreme Court, the members of the Jamaica Information Service, and many others. We owe them all a debt of gratitude, and we also wish to thank the Honourable Chief Justice for gracing us with his presence today, the Honourable Sir Michael Barnett, Counsel at the Bar, and all the individuals who have joined us in person and on the various electronic platforms. Thanks to the media for bringing the ceremony to those many people whose lives have been touched by Justice Phillips's unique brand and who have not been able to attend. Thanks very much all, and to Justice Phillips. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord lift up his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. We wish you all the very best in your retirement. Madam Registrar, please bring this special sitting to a close.
This honorable court now stands adjourned.
To the end of today's special sitting of the profession to mark the retirement of the Honorable Miss Justice Hilary Ann Phillips, CD, a stalwart of the Jamaican judiciary. Thank you, ma'am, for your contribution. Thank you for your company today. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe on our social media platforms, and watch the spaces for more happenings in the judiciary. Do have a pleasant day.